Greetings. Welcome to another broadcast of I Have a Testimony. I'm your host, Brother Willie Muhammad.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Today we're blessed to have with us a young brother who I admire. And in my opinion, he's not afraid to do his best to defend the Nation of Islam and all things related to our beloved nation. He's our very own brother Alphanzo X, also known as Malcolm Flex on social media.
Peace and assalamu alaikum. Please forgive you, brother. I gotta do a quick shave when I get home. But I wanted to just do this quick video, and just say this, to the competition. Because everybody want to be in competition with the Nation of Islam. So I want to say this briefly, that if this is for the Willie Lynch-minded Negroes, that if you feel that you have a better solution than the Nation of Islam, then just present what you have. And let the solution speak for itself. The reason why I say a Willie Lynch-minded Negro, because in the nation, we don't have to say our solution is better than this person's solution, better than that person's solution, to try to convince the people who got the right solution. We just show and prove and let the results speak for itself. Okay? So let the results speak for itself. If you feel like that your solutions to the people's problem is better than ours, then if it's that good, then not only the people, gonna participate in it, but we might even get down with it. You never even know. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people are focused on the wrong stuff. People are mainly focused on tearing one another down, but we are more focused on building each other up. That's what a community does. That's what a nation does. We can never be a strong nation of people, a strong community of people, while we tearing one another down. So this is your brother Malcolm Flex TV. I just wanted to drop that quick message. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, dear brother, and thank you for granting us the opportunity to interview you.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you, dear brother. It's an honor to be on your beautiful show.
Man, I really love that clip, and what you said was just straight and on point, and that's how we have to think. So I'd like to jump right into the interview, man. So let's first begin with you sharing with us how you came to learn about the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and eventually join.
Yes, sir. I was a young man at the time, incarcerated, lost, searching for myself. And your brother, was in a dark place, so I began to change up, my normal routine, and I began to go into like public speaking classes, yoga, meditation, and things of that nature. And I joined a group called the Universalist Unitarians. It's a UU group. And what we were doing at the time was we were learning different religions. And we got onto the religion of Islam. So at the time I was very cool with the imam on the yard at that time. We called the brother Ali, and he began to teach me Sunni Islam. So one day he mentioned the Lamb's Book of Life. And I was really curious about what the Lamb's Book of Life was. And I, asked him more about it. And he said, well, there's a brother in the nation by the name of Willie Muhammad. He could tell you more about it. So I remember studying for my GED, myself and brother Juan, And I finally had the opportunity in GED class to ask the brother, what did the Lamb's Book of Life mean and represent? And the brother asked me, he said, brother, have you ever heard the teachings? No, my apologies. At first, he asked me, he said, brother, did you know that the black man is God? And I was like, wait, aren't you a Mexican? Like, what do you mean the black man is God? He said, brother, the Mexican is a God too, but did you know that the black man is the first God? So I asked the brother, you know, I've never heard this before, but is there any material where you got this from? And the brother stated, well, Jesus said it in the Bible. And I can show you where Jesus got it from in the Bible. So he showed me, he took me to the verse where Jesus made the statement. And he also took me to the verse in Psalms 82 where Jesus got the statement from. So ever since then, I was convinced, and I had been studying with that brother for probably about 2 years, learning more about the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So when I came home and I paroled, the brother had instructed me already to go to Muhammad's Mosque number 27 because that would be my local mosque and get registered. And the brother asked me, he said, brother, when you get home, will you throw the book behind your back? Yeah. And I made a promise to that brother that I would not throw the book behind my back or forsake these teachings.
Man, you know, this is just another reason why I enjoy hearing the stories of how believers came to the Nation of Islam. And I can imagine how you felt that it is Latino brother. he tell you that the black man is God. Like, wow. But that really shows the universality of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I learned, if you wouldn't have told me, brother, I would have never known you were incarcerated before.
That's right. So that's why my Hispanic family have a special dear place in my heart, you know, because if it wasn't for this brother, I would have never heard of the Nation of Islam.
Think about that, man. And so, you know, as a registered member of the Nation of Islam, what would you say has been some of your most rewarding moments?
Well, you know, always Savior's Day and be able to, you know, run into some of our pioneers as you see on the screen, Brother Rahman Muhammad, the Rock of the South. But I would say one of my highlight moments of the Nation of Islam that will probably forever live with me is 10-10-15, the 20th year anniversary of the Million Man March. You know, the 20th year anniversary of the Million Man March, I can honestly say was probably my best moment in the Nation of Islam, my most proudest moment, because at the time, you know, your brother was on parole, you know, and I wasn't supposed to be traveling. But I felt that, you know, my Nation of Islam being threatened and the high tension that was taking place, people threatening the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan if he and the Nation of Islam dared to go to Washington, D.C. In 2015. And as a Muslim and as a soldier of the Nation of Islam, I felt that it was part of my duty to go ahead and make that trip. Whether if they threw me back in prison or not, I felt that I had to be there. So once we got there and, you know, it was peaceful, it was structured, it was successful, I can honestly say that, you know, by the grace of Allah, you know, covering his minister and the believers was one of the proudest moments in my life as a Muslim.
That's something, man. And, you know, there's a brother in our city. He tells a story about how his mentor, who introduced him to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he actually escaped from jail to attend the historic Million Man March.
Wow.
So I heard that. I'm like, wow, man, that's an amazing story. And then to see that based upon your conviction, you were so convicted that you weren't even worrying about being in violation of your probational standards or whatever. You wanted to be there. And I'm thankful that you were there, and that serves as a memorable moment with you. So, you know, I'll ask you this, you know, what helps you to stay the course with your Islam while you're living in a world like this? You know, because for myself and some of the others, when we joined the Nation of Islam, There was no such thing as social media. But you come into the Nation of Islam at a time where, you know, it's social media where, you know, like for us, you had to get a VHS tape, a cassette tape, or go hear the minister. But now you come in at a time where you can get the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on your phone and never even step place in a mosque.
Right. And, you know, the way I came in was kind of like how, you know, you all grew up in the nation, you know, like you said, VHS tapes. But the only thing is, like, you know, when we were incarcerated, we had a subscription to the Final Call newspaper. So we did more reading. We had DVDs and we had CDs, right? So, you know, there was no access to the internet at all. And all we did was study all day, study and play chess, you know. So I think that right there kind of solidified my foundation as a Muslim, because, you know, I always had the conviction to not only just believe, but know that these teachings are true, know that these teachings are real. You know, I've seen it tested, you know, with Brother Willie Muhammad showing me the strength and the power of these teachings. So when I came home into this internet age, you know, I began going on YouTube, going on the internet, looking up everything Nation of Islam, you know. So I saw this as a great opportunity, a tool to be able to take what I learned from the brother that helped raise me up and be able to teach it to others. Because, you know, especially when you just coming in, you feel with that zeal and that passion, and you just want to just stand on the mountaintop and shout it off the mountain.
And when you've mentioned Brother Juan several times, have you had any, do you still have contact with him? And also, there's a two-part question. Do you still have any contact with him? And you said he showed you some examples about the power of Islam. Can you share any of those examples?
Yes, sir. I do still stay in contact with our brother. Our brother was actually released a few years ago, and he's thriving and flourishing in Georgia right now. He has his own construction company. He's been trying to get me to Georgia, you know, to work with him in construction. And what I meant was, by the brother showing me the power of our teachings, and this is how I became a defender. You know, I came in as a defender because I seen and witnessed this brother get into debates with imams, get into debates with Christians. And, you know, I mean, you know, this brother could defeat multiple individuals at a time, and it looked like a Bruce Lee movie. When you see Bruce Lee fighting 2, 3, 4 people at a time, I seen Brother Willie Muhammad do that with these teachings and be victorious. And I was convinced from that day on, this brother is defeating imams, Sunni imams. And I was like, you know what, brother, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to be. But at the time, I was like, I don't know if I could be on the streets with the bow ties and the bean pies. But when I stepped foot in the mosque and I saw those brothers on post looking strong, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do. This is who I want to be.
Wow.
So, yes, sir.
You have a beautiful testimony, man. We'll make sure that Brother Abel tunes in to watch this, and hopefully he gets the opportunity to hear that. So time is moving by fast. We're coming up on our first break. And for those who are watching, we're here with our brother Alphanzo X, a.k.a. Brother Malcolm Flex. So stay tuned. Make sure you share this interview. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe button, and stay tuned to hear more from our brother as we return after these brief announcements.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
And we're back, family, to hear more of this interview with our brother Alphanzo X. So let me ask you this. Close to 69% of Black adults are on social media, according to some stats that I pulled up. And Black teenagers are very active on some of the most popular social media apps. Why do you think social media has such an attraction to Black adults and even Black youth?
Thanks for your question. I remember, growing up, we didn't have this level of technology growing up in our neighborhoods. At most we had like chirps and things of that nature, but we can never imagine ourselves FaceTiming one another. These things that we could never foresee. And I think the reason that it has such an impact on our community is because, it is able to interconnect everyone at an instant. Back then it wasn't so easy. If you wanted to see somebody, you had to physically go wherever they were to actually see them, right? But because of the internet, I can see you face to face, and you can be halfway across the world. As we're actually conducting this interview right now. So I think that's why it's big. It has a big impact within not only the Black community, but in all communities.
Beautiful. And so, equipped with those stats that we just shared and coupled with your response, what would you say are some of the ways that members of the Nation of Islam can engage our people online in accord with how the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan asks that we do?
Beautiful. Yes. So I will use one of our brothers, Brother Ben X, as an example, because social media is such a powerful tool. There have been many times where they have banned Brother Ben X, banned Brother Riza Islam, and people would actually be in the comment sections and say, hey, why don't y'all build your own platforms that we can come to? But the essential situation, because it's not a problem, but the essential situation to this is most of our people are on the enemy's platforms. So this is where we do most of our fishing, places like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, if some of us are gamers. These are opportunities for us to step in where our people are and to be able to fish, because we know that this is where they are. And now we are actually moving into the metaverse, right? Because the metaverse is a very big community, and it's a lot of people in there. Brother Ben X is doing big things in the metaverse. The brother has his own world called the Kingdom, where he has a Mas Mariam in the metaverse. So we're going to be taking, this social media thing to the very next level in regards to being able to reach out to our people and bring them to the Nation of Islam. And we are letting them know that we are familiar with these different technologies. We are familiar with these different platforms. In order to be able to stay relevant, so I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir, it does. And, I opened up this show talking about how you have not shied away from defending the Nation of Islam and all things related. Can you talk some more about why do you have that spirit, and why is it important for us as believers to have that spirit?
Yes, sir. I believe, I personally, have that spirit, because I believe I was born in the nation with that spirit. Because I'm still a baby Muslim. I'm only a few years old, but in my conception, it was put into me to have that, spirit of defense of the Nation of Islam because of my brother Willie Muhammad. The way I saw him defend the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is what really hooked me. So I think the reason why it's so important for us as believers to defend our nation, because it shouldn't be the responsibility for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to defend himself. Because I remember the Honorable Elijah Muhammad made a statement to where that if your teacher is being attacked, then what's the purpose of you even being here if you won't even defend your teacher? So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, being 88 or 89 years young, our brother has put in more work than we will ever see in a lifetime. So why would our brother have to step out and defend himself or the Nation of Islam when he's already put in the work for generations like myself, who's coming up after him, to stand up? It's our time to stand up and do what we got to do and be able to take the mantle. No, our minister is not retiring, but there's a saying that in this specific saying, it says, young man for war, old man for counsel. You know what I mean? So it's time for us young defenders to stand up. We can't just sit back and allow people to attack our nation and flood our nation with propaganda. This is, just as the Bible says that the earth will stand up and swallow the flood. So we are representing that earth, and we must swallow the flood of propaganda when it comes to defending our nation, because we are the vanguard of the Nation of Islam.
Beautiful. And since we're talking about defending our nation, and I talked about how you have not shied away, what have been some of the online defenses you've been a part of, and what were the outcomes?
Yes, sir. Thanks for asking that. I would say, I've been on online defenses when it comes to, people like Young Pharaoh. I've also done presentations dealing with the tribe of Shabazz, dealing with Yaqub, dealing with Malcolm X. We do a lot of Malcolm X defenses, because we can honestly say that Malcolm X singularly is probably the number one thing that needs to be defended even in 2022. The enemy has tripped our people up so much when it comes to our brother Minister Malcolm X, that it just created a level of resentment that we have never been able to get away from. So these are some of the things on my YouTube channel, my Facebook pages, that your brother has been engaged in ever since, I've been in the nation and been defending the Nation of Islam online.
And just briefly, before we get ready to go into our next break, I'll just ask you this additional question. What's your preparation, as you prepare to defend us online? What's that like?
Yes, sir. Hours of research, hours of putting together presentations and PowerPoints, and, conferring with some of my older brothers like Brother Dr. Willie Muhammad, Brother Demetric Muhammad, getting advice from them, and several other people. If there's something that I don't know personally, I will, reach out to somebody who I feel may have the answers, but when it comes to defending, we don't never want to be mediocre, because the minister said that nothing about a lie is mediocre. We want to come with the best defenses. We want to come with prepared and proper preparation whenever we step out in the public forum and we thinking that we're going to defend the Nation of Islam. You can't just step out there, freestyling. We don't freestyle. We make sure we prepare properly. We do it with and we argue in the best of manners, meaning how we conduct ourselves as Muslims, because we don't just represent ourselves. We represent something greater than ourselves called the Nation of Islam.
Beautiful. And thank you for that response, man. And from your perspective, what would you say has been and is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's impact on social media?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
So what would you say has and is been the impact of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on social media?
Yes, sir. I give an example. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan revealed that while he was organizing the very first Million Man March in 1995, it took him about 2 years to organize that march which made it successful with almost 2 million men who showed up. With the power of social media, this particular engine that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan used, it only took him 6 months to organize the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, which almost rivaled the first Million Man March. So the minister's impact on social media has become even more widespread because everybody has access to these. Everybody can just, it's just instant. So people who have never heard of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is now able to see his face plastered on every social media platform. And I think this is what makes the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan so dangerous to the enemy. And this is why they're banning the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on all of these different platforms, because the power of the truth that is coming out of his mouth that was given to him by his spiritual father, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Beautiful, my brother, beautiful. And what you said is right on point, man. And we are coming up on our next break. And for those who are watching, I know like you're enjoying to hear these responses from our brother who, once again, if he said something, if I didn't know, he's feels to me personally, feels like he's been in the Nation of Islam for some years. But our brother said that he is just a baby, only a few years in. So we'll be back to hear more of this dynamic interview and testimony with our brother Alphanzo X, aka Brother Malcolm Flex, right after these brief announcements.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App, NNV News.
AsiaticMinds.com, the curriculum of study from the University of God's Mind. Education that enhances the quality of learning through a virtual school system. The science of mathematics, communication, and deductive reasoning. Our children are the future. Invest in your destiny. To enroll now, visit AsiaticMinds.com.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button, or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
Muhammad's economic blueprint, the collective power of our dollars to build a future for ourselves. With 5 cents a day, 35 cents a week, $1.40 a month, and $18.20 a year multiplied by 16 million wage earners would give us $291 million in 1 year. Everyone can give 35 cents a week as an investment in our future. Donate now and see what our pennies, nickels, and dimes can accomplish. Visit economicblueprint.org.
And we're back, family. Thank you all for tuning back in to hear more of this interview with our brother Alphanzo X. So, I would ask you this, because we talk a lot about social media and our defending. What advice would you give to those who may have a desire to want to talk more about the teachings and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan online, but may not know how, and yet they are looking for some simple ways that they can do so?
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. I would say, a lot of times, most of us will be filled with spirit, but spirit isn't sufficient. It's about having the proper knowledge and the proper preparation. You know, the minister said that if you can't defend who I am properly, then you probably shouldn't be the one speaking, right? So what that means is that no, you can't. That doesn't mean that you can't defend, but that what that means is that you have to get back in the lab and do some studying, do some research, get more familiar with the material that has been given to us. You know, all of the 5 books of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Final Call newspaper articles, whatever that you can get your hands on, videos, you know, study, research. And what I would recommend to brothers and sisters is that, you know, start off slow. You know, you probably can't just jump up and do a live video. Just do a Facebook post, quote some words of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Do a Twitter post, you know, do some tweets. You know, I would say start slow and grow gradually instead of just, you know, just being filled with spirit and just jumping out there. And then, you know, you don't just make yourself look bad, but we are making our nation look bad when we do that. So I would say, again, just take it slow. If you don't necessarily have the enough knowledge to go out and step out and speak confidently, I would just say take your time, research, study, and just start off small and then grow large.
Man, and you didn't mention it. So what city are you from?
Yes, sir. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California.
Okay. Praise be to Allah, man. And how is it practicing Islam on the West Coast?
It really made me a Muslim. You know, my training as a former second lieutenant under Regional Captain Willie Muhammad has really, you know, sharpened me. You know, I remember being a young brother just stumbling in the mosque. I knew the teachings, but I didn't have the training. You know, so in the scripture, it talks about a man who would be like a refiner's fire and fuller's soap, which is the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So being in Los Angeles, you know, being a former officer in the Western Regional Headquarters Mosque in Los Angeles, it really refined me. It really sharpened me. It really gave me a lot of training, you know, so that training that I was blessed to get under the leadership of our Western Regional Minister, Abdul Malik Saeed Muhammad, really, you know, sharpened me, and I can take this training and these skills that I am able to possess all over the world with me.
You know, I asked a lot of people this question on here, and I'll ask you as well. You know, the show is titled, I Have a Testimony. If you had the opportunity to stand before the world and give a testimony about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, of some quality of his, what quality would you choose to testify about? About
the minister?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's a great question. I would say a holy man. And the reason why I would say that, you know, because like I stated earlier in our discussion, you know, I was studying world religions, and one of the religions, or one of the sages, was by the name of Paramahansa Yogananda, and he was an Indian, but he didn't necessarily practice Hinduism, but he was more of a yoga sage. And one thing that he taught was, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And what I've learned from what Yogananda taught and what I see with the Nation of Islam is there's a line of divine, because Master Fard Muhammad is the spiritual father of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the spiritual father of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So everybody up under these three, this line of the divine, we are spiritual siblings, right? So I can identify the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as a holy man. You know, this wise sage, the Messiah, who has come among Black people to deliver us from the grip of Satan in our midst. You know, so if I can describe any quality of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I would describe him as a holy man,
Wow,
a righteous man.
that has been that testimony, that example as the first of its kind in all of our interviews. That, you know, not that other people don't say he's a holy man, but no one has specifically used that as one of the things that they will testify about. Let me ask you this question: what would you say would be, if you had to give a testimony about that will show the great impact that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has had on your life? What would that testimony be for you?
I would say his resurrection of me. You know, me being a individual who I was a virgin. I had no encounter whatsoever with Islam, no form of Islam. I don't have any family that are Muslims. I didn't have any family that had a picture on the wall of Malcolm X, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I look at many of my other brothers and sisters, you know, who either grew up in the nation or who grew up with relatives in the nation. I'm like, man, you know, y'all brothers and sisters, man, y'all had it good growing up, man. I wish I had some type of knowledge of who this man was when I was younger and earlier in my life. So I think that, you know, me being a young individual who was wandering around in darkness, was one of the lost ones, was one of the dead. For this man to help me see the light and guide me out of the light and my resurrection, because I was an individual who had a high level of self-hatred. I hated myself. I couldn't even look myself in the mirror, right? And this is what I felt about myself internally. You know, and this brother, this holy man, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, was able to pull me out of that shallow grave of ignorance, you know, into the light of truth and knowledge of self. And I would say that would be the greatest testament of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Why? Because the resurrection of the dead is the number one program, is the resurrection of the dead. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is accomplishing that every day on a daily basis, not only with myself, but hundreds and thousands and even millions of brothers and sisters all across this globe.
I just want to, as a follow-up question, that you talk about the hate, how you felt about yourself and not even being able to look into the mirror. I think you said, can you give some more detail about specifically, like maybe was it something that you heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say that helped you get from where you were then to where you are now?
Yes, sir. I would say probably my favorite lecture of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is "Who Are the Real Children of Israel?"
Atlanta.
And the reason why I bring up that specific lecture, you know, is because when he gave the lecture, I was really able to see my self-worth, right? Knowing that Allah had chose us as a people is what really blew my mind. And it showed me that we were a part of something greater than ourselves. And that what really gave me a sense of purpose, that I'm no longer living for myself anymore, being selfish, right? The selflessness of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I was able to inherit, and I no longer live for myself. You know, I live for my people, the people that we are here to raise up and liberate out of the grips of Satan. And I would say that because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan helped me realize the knowledge of self, because the knowledge of self is the knowledge of God.
Wow. And that's, man, that is beautiful. You know, that lecture there's so many lectures that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has done that are so key, but that is one of the most, significant lectures, man. That's a very significant lecture, very key a lecture. So let me ask you this, from social media, out of all of the social media apps, which one would you say provides the best opportunity to help the public gain a better understanding of the Nation of Islam?
Wow, that's a great question. I think all of them are definitely great tools, but it's only one that I can say in particular that I'm trying to get more familiar with, and I would say Twitter. I would say Twitter has had the most impact, of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because that's where his Twitter army is. He have armies in other places, in other locations, but I would say that that's where most of it all started. And most of all of these other platforms has found ways and loopholes to ban the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. These satanic Jews, who's running these different platforms, they all met with people in Israel and came up with ways and decided to ban him on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. But it was Twitter, probably the only one who banned him, but allowed the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to come back and teach. And I don't necessarily know the reason why, other than saying that Allah has his hand in that. But I can say that Twitter has been the most effective when it comes to the minister's impact on social media.
That's interesting, man. That is interesting. Yep. In regards with Twitter, they didn't, with a whole controversy about termite, which Mr. Louis Farrakhan never called them specifically termites, came about. They stood fast. So we're coming up on our last break. When we come back, I want to ask you another question about that ban. But for those who are just tuning in, we're interviewing our brother Alphanzo X. So stay tuned to hear the last portion of this interview. Peace.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
AsiaticMinds.com, the curriculum of study from the University of God's Mind. Education that enhances the quality of learning through a virtual school system. The science of mathematics, communication, and deductive reasoning. Our children are the future. Invest in your destiny. To enroll now, visit AsiaticMinds.com.
The hashtag #BankBlack social media campaign made strides not only in revolutionizing how we bank, but also how we think. The movement inspired thousands of African Americans across the country to transfer or deposit millions of dollars into Black-owned banks. These are banks that will invest in urban communities, employ African Americans, support Black businesses, and inspire Black home ownership. This is a very proud moment for our culture as we are taking small, but significant, steps towards building Black power through Black wealth.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Willie Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
And we're back, brothers and sisters, to conclude this last portion of our interview with our brother who's been really bringing it, man, and giving some great answers as it relates to social media. So you mentioned in the last response about the ban, right? And my question to you is like, when they said that they banned the minister, of course they shut down his accounts, but you couldn't tell because the minister was you still came across videos, like you still come across videos and all type of stuff of the minister online. Why do you think the ban of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on various social media platforms was not successful?
Because when Allah is involved, Allah has two wills. He has his permissive will and he has his active will. But when you're dealing with a man of God, when you're dealing with either a prophet, a messenger, in this case, the Messiah, you cannot put out the light of that type of individual. No matter how much you try, that Allah's will is going to get done regardless to the tricks and the strategies that this enemy tries to use against them. They will never be successful against Allah and his messenger and his Messiah. No matter how hard, that they try, no matter, when there's a man speaking truth, that truth begins to germinate and that truth begins to infect the minds of those who are seekers of truth, right? It's like a seed that is being planted in the minds of the people. Once the seed is being planted, all it has to do is receive some sunlight and some water, right? So once the seed is being planted and they are receiving the light of truth, then that seed begins to germinate and it begins to grow. So that's why the enemy's efforts will never be successful in trying to black out the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his efforts in resurrecting our people, because people may see it on a mundane level thinking that this just a random black Negro leader, but they don't see the two that back him, the Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and Allah who came to us in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad. And when they understand that power, then they will, finally begin to understand that they will never be successful to go against a man like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Man, what would be your message to some of the young believers of your age demographic in the Nation of Islam?
I would say, to keep our faith, let's not ever lose our faith that, that we have been instilled in us by Allah. And also always keep your eyes on the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his executive council, the Shura Council, because he has put these brothers and sisters in place to guide us when he makes his departure, and these are very beautiful and wise brothers and sisters, you know what I mean? So we can never get distracted and allow other Negro leaders to tickle our ears. We must always stay grounded in the foundations of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And this is why your brother personally has had the conviction, and I would never allow anything or anybody to move me off of my square. So once we strengthen the foundation first, right? We must strengthen the foundation first. That is what's going to solidify our faith in what we have and what we believe. And once we are able to do that, then we are able to stand up confidently and tell anybody, whether if it's the enemy, whether if it's some of our own hateful people, that I'm a Muslim. I'm in the Nation of Islam. Regardless of how you feel, I don't care if you super swole, you've been at the gym all your life, getting big and getting buff. You could have a gun on you. I'ma always confess that I'm a fruit of Islam and the Nation of Islam, and I love my leader and teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and we're ready to stand 10 toes down and die on that.
Beautiful, man, and I love your spirit. So as we get to this last question, as we get ready to close, first I'll ask you, make sure you mention how people can contact you on social media, follow you on social media. But the question I want to ask as a follow-up after that, you know, in closing, was there anything you wanted to share that you didn't get the opportunity to share, maybe because I didn't ask the question or something may have popped in your mind while we were doing the interview? If so, this is your opportunity.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you for that, dear brother. I will do the second one first, and then I guess I'll close out with the first question. Right now, your brother is currently working on a documentary. The documentary is called The Two Messiahs of the Dead Sea Scrolls, Nation of Islam Fulfillment. Pardon me. So please look out for that coming pretty soon. I'm actually writing the script right now. And also, you can follow me at Malcolm Flex TV on all platforms. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, no matter which platform, TikTok. You can follow me on Malcolm Flex TV. And also, please go and follow the NOI Defense Team on platforms. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Please go and follow both these platforms as well. And I thank you for your question, Brother Student Minister Willie.
Yes, sir, my brother. And thank you for your spirit, and thank you for what you're doing in this modern, in this era, man, because, you know, whether people feel a certain way about social media or the internet or whatnot, it's real and it exists, and it don't look like it's going anywhere. And the populations that you have on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube are larger than some countries in the world. So this is a real thing. So thank you, my brother. May Allah continue to bless you in what you're doing. And we appreciate that you gave us the opportunity to have you as a guest on this show.
Thank you, dear brother. It's an honor and a pleasure to be on your platform.
Yes, sir. And for those who are watching, we thank you all for tuning in. And now we'll go to our announcements. And we look forward to you all tuning in on the next week with our next guest that'll be coming. So for those who are on here, we want to tell you in regards to one, with our mosque, as here in the city of New Orleans, we're still raising funds. You know, we started off saying 1,400 people giving $100. I think now we're right around 1,200 people that we still need. So $100, if you can give a contribution, you can do it on GoFundMe. You can reach out to me. I can send you the PayPal link, Cash App. You can mail the donations in, whatever it is. Help us to put this mosque mortgage to rest. And our next announcement we want to talk about in regards to praying. You know, if there's anyone that is, you want us to say a prayer for you, people have been submitting their names and we have been submitted into our prayer groups. Please make sure that you actually do so. And then in addition to that, even though it's a local thing, but we've kicked it off here in the city of New Orleans where we are paying for prostate exams for brothers. And I think we can do it outside of New Orleans, maybe in the state of Louisiana. But we've already helped someone, and I appreciate our effort with that. The next thing we want to talk about is my book. You know, I just released another one. We'll have it coming soon on conflict resolution. But support the brother. Check the books out at mosque46.org, and you can order the books. You can also get them on Amazon. So we appreciate your support, and we thank you all for continuing to support NNV. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share this interview. Make sure you hit like to help build up our algorithms. But we thank you for your support, and may Allah continue to bless each and every one of you. This is your brother, Willie Muhammad, with I Have a Testimony. Peace.
Go home and study. See, many of you don't study your religion. Go ahead. And you think you're going to attain something without study. But if you believe in something, you need to study it so you can become proficient in what you do. Now watch this. God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.